Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome too. My name is Maya and this is Inspired by Maya. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this mock neck, high neck, ruched bodycon top basically. It's so comfortable and it's really easy to make, so this tutorial would be classed as beginner friendly. I decided to make it because it just ruching's in all the time, you know what I mean, and it's something that can be worn all year round depending on the fabric that you use. I've used a slinky burgundy fabric, so it's got a lot of stretch to it. One thing I want to mention is the pattern for this top, like I've made it and graded it and everything, so it will be available on my Etsy page. The link will be in the description box below. But without further ado, let's just get into the tutorial. So these are the pattern pieces for this top. You should have 2 front and 2 back body pieces and 4 sleeve pieces. The fabric I'm using for this top is a burgundy slinky stretchy fabric, so it has 4-way stretch, so that means it stretches in all directions. But on your fabric, check whether the width or the length has more stretch and cut the pattern with the stretch going horizontal. I advise using a really stretchy fabric for this pattern because the neck hole is quite small since I wanted the mock neck to fit nice and snug, so we're going to need it to stretch a lot over our head. But I think that's all I want to say about the fabric, so let's move on to measuring our elastic. To get the right length of elastic, I measured it against the centers of my original pattern and then cut it to match the length of the seam. You'll need 1 piece of elastic for the front and back, and then 2 for each sleeve. Now we can move on to sewing. So I used my overlocker for this step because it keeps the fabric stretchy, but if you don't have an overlocker, you can use a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine and it will work just fine. The only thing I would say is don't make the length of the stitches too long, because then it defeats the purpose of using the zigzag stitch because the stitches are so far apart, and also your seams will be weaker. And you want to use a stretch needle when sewing and choose the size of the needle depending on the thickness of your fabric. Now let's start pinning the pieces together. So to get the ruching even along the center of your top, you want to pin the elastic in increments. So I pinned the top and bottom first and then found the middle. Then I did the same thing again to the sections that were created. Now onto the sewing. It can be a bit tricky to get started on this seam, so I find it easiest to put the fabric under the machine with the pin still in, then turn the needle handle so that the needle is sitting in the elastic and fabric, then do a few back stitches, remove the pin and stretch and sew. So once I finished sewing the center front, I just went ahead and repeated this for the center back and sleeves. Now you want to take your front and back body pieces, right sides facing, and attach them at the shoulders and side seams. So here's what my body looks like once I've sewn up the shoulders and slide sleeve. So this is what my body looks like now that I've sewn up the shoulders and side seams. Next we need to attach the sleeves to the body. So to do this, you just want to pin and sew the side seam of the sleeve. So I'm just going to flip it inside out. So with stretchy fabric, the armhole for the front and back is the same. So now I'm just going to take the sleeve right sides facing and pin it to the inside of the body. This step is really easy because my pattern has no ease, so it fits perfectly into the armhole. And you want to match up the side seam of the sleeve and the body. So just gonna pin them. When you pin in the side seams, to make it sew up easier, you might just want to flip the overlock side so that one's on one side, one's on the other, because then it lays flatter. Now I'm just going to continue to pin this around the armhole. And I'm also going to match up the shoulder seam to the center of the sleeve and pin it with the seam allowances in the opposite direction. So now I'm just going to pin the other sleeve to the armhole, and then I'm going to sew with my overlocker all around. Another way of attaching the sleeves is by sewing the shoulders of the bodice and then pinning the sleeve right sides facing the bodice, then sew along this seam. This is usually my preferred method of sewing sleeves, but only when there's ease in the pattern because it makes it a bit easier to fit it in. So now the top is completely sewn, just flipping it right sides out, and we need to finish the neck. I forgot to cut a neckband piece, so I'm just going to quickly do that and then I'll show you how to attach it. So now I've got my neckband piece, I've got it right sides facing up, and I'm just going to fold it in half and sew a seam down this side. So here's what my neckband looks like when it's sewn, and I'm just going to flip it now so that the right sides are on the outside, and it should look like this. And now we're just going to pin this to the neck of our body, but when you're doing it you want to make sure that your seams actually line up. Then pin it to the neck hole of the body, right sides facing. So I just place the neckband on top of the right side of the body and pinned all around. So now I'm just going to sew all around this seam with my overlocker, and obviously if you don't have an overlocker, just make sure that you use a zigzag stitch because we want this to go over our head. We don't want no stitches to pop and stuff. So now the top is completely finished and I've got the neckband attached and the centre back seams all match up. Now you have the option to hem, so because this is a stretchy fabric, I'm not going to hem it because it doesn't fray, and hemming ruched fabric is literally a nightmare because look at it, like it buckles up so much, and then if I try and do a straight stitch hem under my sewing machine it will start to do like a lettuce hem, and I don't really want that. These are the times when I really wish I had a cover stitch machine. So but yeah, I'm going to leave it now, so I guess it's time for the final reveal. So that brings us to the end of the video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it and that the tutorial was easy to understand as usual. This top is so nice, it came out really well and it definitely is beginner friendly. So if you do want to make it, I have the pattern available on my Etsy shop. The link is in the description box down below. If you did enjoy the video, please like, comment and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye guys.